I've got blue souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs spoon. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
Rock bottom make a man and some pressure make a gemstone. Try to put $1 to my name like Creflo. Naja boy, late to the game, it's in the blood flow. And I'm from the south, it's thick skin and tough bone. Big attitude through big lips with gusto. Trust no kings, that's why they tried to crush souls. But it's IGBO, when the dust blow, this old head be standing there. No silver, just gold. Crack no books on the hustle, I was born to grind. Yo, scared of your potential, I'm adorned with mine. 30 times around the sun, man, of course I shine. My legacy will not dwarf with time. And in my daughter's eyes, it's basic, I must not say quit. Every day sees a present like a Rob St. Nick. Walk a fine line between tenacious and patient. I can't slip, I'm fighting clocks and they can't win.
I've got blue souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs slow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got blue souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Who that soldier in the mirror? Oh, oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
Impeccably I flow, hardest raps you know, breaking status quo, reaping what I sow, artistry like Van Gogh. Get it from my mama, hip so thick that I need tempo. Personality spicy, body banging like a bongo. Cause black women been it since Timbuktu, since Pharaoh. Sponge rollers and hot combs, lips, cheeks and brow bones. If you ain't for the culture, then please stay out of my zone. These little dummy rappers could never grace my headphones. See, I'm from a place in space where ain't no storytelling, you just had to have been there. If you want the battle, ain't no problem, say where. I got so much experience, I can't even play fair. But I'ma keep evolving and growing and hurting feelings and showing you need endurance to go in. I got mileage on this pen, I've been busy cause I've been out here schooling all these kids. Took 3 decades to have this glow up that I did.
I've got blue souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs slow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got blue souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Who that soldier in the mirror? Oh, oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. Turn all of my
Auckland.
shoes last night to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant.
Judgment, Alfred.
Chloe, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh! You wanna get sued?
Judgment, Alfred.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a running. But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love him when he does that.
Let's watch.
Don't get me back to good bullshit.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. And it's so good to be here with you guys on the day crew. Thank you so much for joining. Lisa King, I see Lisa King here, and Witchy Mama. Thank you, Witchy Mama, and thank you, mods. You guys are awesome. I put out a call to action the other day, and you know, I really appreciate the outpouring of support and love, and you guys just the willingness to, you know, help out, because there are so many GoFundMes, there's so many petitions. You know, the least we can do is share these things if we can't help, because I understand, look, it's hard. I wish I was a millionaire, because I would, but then if I was a millionaire and I always gave my money out, I probably wouldn't be a millionaire anymore, right? So it's just a catch-22. But I think it's important to share it out, because you never know who's going to see it, or who does have an extra bit of money, to put into it. And any little bit helps too, because I've even done like $5, $10, whatever I could, right? And so it's just whatever we can do to help. Um, it's so important. And then what she was saying last night, Chuchi and I were talking, and it was funny because it was like, we were really all doing a crowd sourcing night with information last night, which was great. And I love when we do that because it's not only interactive for you guys because participate, please, but we can discuss topics. And we're about to get into Mackenzie Shirilla and how she has been acting lately in this whole movement. So you guys are going to see links for petitions for Dominic and Davion. And it just is very heartbreaking. And I feel like a lot has been taken away too from Davion. Like he's kind of like in the background, but he was also a victim in this, and so was Dom. And like I said, I didn't cover this case, but I actually covered it behind the scenes, and I do that with a lot of true crime cases. It's probably the only thing that I watch, which isn't very healthy all the time. So I do mix it up. I'll watch, different little things here and there, but really I try to stick to true crime so I could watch these different cases, how they unfold, how they compare to what we're talking about, because that way we can see how they were solved or how they remain unsolved even. So like Sebastian Rogers, 2 years is too long. Where is Sebastian? We talked about Sebastian last night. We always will talk about Sebastian here. That's what our channel is mainly focused on. So I did watch this all unfold, and through the courts and different things. His sister has a podcast that recently I saw on Law and Crime. She was on with Jesse Weber, and coming from her and her being like the spokesperson for the family, I would love to have her on the show. So I did email her, but either way, we're going to talk about it. I think it really fits into what we were talking about with domestic violence when we had Jennifer Aaron on in her new book called Villain Syndrome. And thank you, Lisa King. Thank you so much. And thank you, Chuchi, so much. And, it's funny that people always think it's always like a man doing it to a woman, right? But in this situation, we see a lot of toxicity from both parties, both kids, and I'm talking about Dominic and his girlfriend at the time, Mackenzie, who survived the crash, right? And there's this Netflix documentary on it, which is sparking a lot of interest, and there's this Free Mackenzie movement. I know she's been locked up, but I don't feel like she has ever had to pay for her the consequences of her actions. And I know that sounds kind of weird coming from me, right? Because I'm not her and I'm not going through her life or her footsteps, right? But I do think that she's very selfish in the way that she hurt these families, and she's not ever taken accountability. I've listened to all of her jail calls. Like, I've been there, done that, right? So now there's this new documentary, and I fell asleep during it this morning at like 6:30. I was like snoozing by the time I made it through like probably the first quarter of it. But I'm going to watch it again tonight before our night court show, because it did spark a lot of interest and a lot of people were talking about it. And I think it's important for us to recognize that it definitely happens, and it happens when we're young. And when it happens when we're young, it can be very toxic. If somebody's trying to get out of an abusive relationship, it's the worst time, right? It is the very worst time to do that. And because the abuser is going to have a lot of anxiety about the situation, and they are going to try to, make you stay. So there's some resources too for you guys. If you want to text, call, message, they have a website that's safe for you to do that. So yeah, it was good. I didn't fall asleep because it wasn't good. I would just, I fell asleep because I was tired. But in the same way, I think that at least we'll get some more information on what they're saying over there versus what we want to talk about over here, because in my opinion, we're all going to have different opinions, right? And there's some battle lines in this case that have been clearly drawn. We know that because of Sebastian's case, right? We have two groups of people who are equally adamant about the fact that, Katie and Chris had nothing to do with this. Okay, I don't understand how that can be possible. And again, I don't want to just pick sides, but I think it's good to support the cause that is more worthy. And to me, getting this freeing Mackenzie, no thank you. We saw what happened with Gypsy Rose Blanchard, did we not? Do I need to cover that? Because I watched that one too, because I'm from, that area, or I lived in that area, right? So, yeah, that little one, you want to see Mackenzie's face all over? I mean, giving you the kiss lips when she took 2 lives of 2 young men? No, thank you. No, thank you. And her mother is a Pollyanna, in my opinion, condoning a lot of bad behavior, giving the worst advice, making sure she's got enough peanut butter packets, and she's bringing the bread and the books, and she's, they're back in nursery school. Hey, Deafening Silence, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Exactly, Witchy. So that's another really interesting dynamic that we can discuss as well. Would it be free Mac if she was a boy? I don't think so. No, we would be beside ourselves, because look, she seems like this little small, pretty little girl, right? But she is a very mean and vindictive. Like, one of her nicknames in prison, I heard, was Regina, like the head bitch, on on the Mean Girls, right? She's the ringleader, and she definitely pulls all the strings, right? She wants to be the puppet master in the situation. Another, term, a pillow princess, right? In prison, which we had to look up to make sure we were being, correct. And, she just takes and takes and takes from everybody, and she never gives anything back. And it's the worst kind of person and the most toxic personality. So if any young, boy moms, you have young boys, that might be a case, that you might discuss. And some of those behaviors, I mean, she's constantly threatening him. She's constantly going after him. And if you don't do this, I'm going to do this, just threatening behavior. And we know, yeah. And if that was a boy doing that to a girl, Witchy, no, we can't accept it either way, because look, now we have 2 casualties. So it looked like they were a very close group of friends from what I'm watching. That's kind of how far I got in there. Andrea, good to see you. Hey, I'm glad you're here. I hope your doctor's appointment goes well. She's trying, yeah, thank you, Chuchi. She is trying to get another appeal. So we know that that's something in the judicial system. She's entitled to appeal. But it really re-victimizes the victims. And I'm all for justice, guys. I just hate when it looks like this and they have to go through it again. Because do I think she's going to win on appeal? No. It's just like Tisha Stout, right? And I hate to even put Al's name with hers, but, I mean, hey, we all have to pay for our choices. Hey, Mama, good to see you. Well, maybe they shouldn't have missed the filing date if they want an appeal. Shake my head. Yeah, time doesn't stop because your name's Mackenzie, right? Oh, I know. She just is so entitled, isn't she, Witchy? But then you see why is because her parents are just allowing for that behavior. Because I would tell you, if that was my daughter, for one, if I saw no remorse, I would be appalled. I mean, you're telling me that Dom was the love of your life, but you're treating him in such a way that he's like your pet or something, or it's just when somebody treats you like an object, when somebody treats you like they own you, and she definitely treated him that way. And how dare he break up with her? And I kind of think that she was out on the way out. He was tired of dealing with her. Um, the technology aspect, we had our friend Libra on last night, and the technology aspect is different for all of us because, back in the day, we didn't have this type of technology. So, I mean, I get the close knit friend group and the high school experience, but then when it comes to putting in that technology factor, they're way ahead of everything. So, hey, Bo, good to see you. Her mother was an absolute disgrace at the sentencing. I was sick in my mouth, but I was impressed with the judge saying it's all me, my girl. Yeah, what about the victims? Yeah, her mom is very intense too. Like, if you listen to some of the jail calls or some of the ways her mom is very uppity, right? And just, ask a question and then ask it again several times after. It's like, okay, you already asked me that, right? Let me have a chance to answer you before you're like, oh, well, yeah. No. I mean, it's like, whoa, she's a lot to handle. I'm not taking up for, anybody on that either. I think Mackenzie's an awful person. She really is. It's terrible what she did, and it's terrible that she has no remorse, you know? So, oh, okay, Andrea, that's good. Yeah, but we need justice. We need justice for these people, right? I mean, it's just awful. Yeah. Yeah, she did make a statement with her actions. She did, Lisa King. That's spot on. Yeah, it's her way or no way. And she's very selfish. And the way that she's acting currently in prison is just super selfish and all about her, right? And then she has awful enablers. That's right. Yeah, that's all they do. They're actually her flying monkeys, you know? Um, yeah. Well, and we just need to make sure that we remember who the victims are here because it's definitely not her, right, Chuchi? And I think that's something that we have to understand, um, and beat that drum, right? Instead of beating a drum for this girl who is a totally entitled little brat, in my opinion, and that's coming as a mom, you know. Well, I that's Stephanie, you're right. Cruella is the worst. By far the worst. No. In my opinion, it's because I mean, we've literally seen her make the cruelest and most off the wall, in my opinion, statements. And the way they act, they don't want help finding Sebastian. In my opinion, they know where he is. I definitely think the Foot Clan is involved, all of them, if they don't have guilty knowledge of the situation at the very least. you know, she is though. I mean, she's the very worst. But and it's good that we identify these features in people because it's very toxic. I mean, if you're like, my little Johnny doesn't do anything wrong ever, this is what you end up with as a Chris Proudfoot. Same thing goes for little Mackenzie over there. Oh, Susie would never. Oh, not my little one. Well, yeah, your little one is doing some creepy crap, you know? So, yeah, absolutely, Chuchi, and thank you for that. I appreciate it so much because we do need to network and get linked up with people. And it's just like I love working with Seth when I can. That's why working on Sebastian's Law, I wanted to read it and go over it, ask him some questions, which I did, because it's important, right? We need to stick with these families and what their wishes are. Look, this is the least we could do for people that we're talking about their story. I want to be as clear to the story as I can. So if anybody that's willing to give me more clarity and tell me from the horse's mouth, I'm all willing to listen to that person and give them a platform. Um, I'm a little channel, but like I said, I'm running a tight ship here, and I definitely want people to know that we're true crime. We're not this trauma stuff that we want to get to the families and hurt them. We want to support their wishes because, look, that's their family. Now, if their family's acting a fool, I mean, that's a different story. But the people that are doing the right thing, that want awareness, that want their voices heard, that's what we're about. And I just don't want anybody to mistake that. Like, I will never make, especially, I'm going to say it a bunch here because it needs to be said. I'm not going to make another channel to do trauma. I'm not going to be Lady Freedom over here and then act a fool on a different platform because it's acceptable to do that. It's not to me. My time and energy goes here, and that's where it's going to stay. And we're going to be victim based. So this bullshit of getting on a bandwagon to free this person from doing such a horrible act, and we can also obviously see no remorse. I have a big problem with that. Yeah, I definitely think they're involved, Stephanie. And Sebastian deserves better. His case has been a circus as well. When you look at these cases and everybody chiming in, you do have a large portion of people who are going to side with the one who is absolutely victimized another person. And that's why we talk about Jennifer's book, The Villain Syndrome, because that's what that is. It's a result of it. It comes from the same place. It's cut from the same cloth, so to speak. And when we see that, we have to stand up against it. We can't just jump on that bandwagon because the only people we're hurting is the victim or the victims in this case. Lisa King says she gets not a drop of sympathy from me. She has to pay for being responsible for taking 2 lives. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. She hasn't even, paid for anything yet. Now, again, I can't fault her for doing an appeal because that's how the process works. She's fully able to do it. But it's mind-boggling because, of course, I've listened to all of her shenanigans behind the scenes. And people just know that if you're in jail, they're recording you. I mean, they tell you, but these people act like they're not being recorded, and it's weird to me. So, Mama, I love you guys too. You guys are amazing. Like, I just love our group of people, and we can make a difference. That's one thing that makes me so mad about the trauma people is they'll tell us, oh, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to solve this. You're not going to. Okay, well, fine then, negative Nancy, Nelly, whatever the hell, whatever the helly, fine, we're not, but at least we can spread awareness. At least we can spread petitions. And I love doing that. Look, Crystal McCrory Jones's sister, Jana, got a couple of things pushed through with her petitions and signatures from our group, right? And that means just so much to me because she's worked so hard for advocacy for her sister. Witchy, it goes back to villain syndrome. Just does, guys. Pick you up a copy, do the workbooks and stuff if you're in the healing process, if you've gone through it. It really resonates with people. Hey, Shadow, good to see you. So, hey, Sandy. Sandy says, yes, all these people do that nothing but bash aren't even doing anything to help. Well, I mean, that's the problem. That's the problem. We won't see these people at the rallies, right? We won't see these people come and show up and stand with Seth or even stand with the feet. The feet don't stand. That is what's kind of funny about the feet, right? They don't stand up for anything. They don't do events. But if they did an event, would any of these people go to the event? No, they would be on their computer waiting for somebody else to go to the event. Like Lady Freedom, which I like traveling. I'm not saying I don't like traveling. But it's a little hard on the wallet, right? You guys would have to crowdsource me like JLR or something. So, I mean, we could talk about it, but but I don't know, I mean, it's expensive. Look, especially when you're staying in a decent place, right? And you have to have that lucky for me, Jen has invited me to stay with her and Jeff. So I'm very lucky because then I feel like very protected, right? Like if I was in a hotel somewhere, it wouldn't be as, protected. So I'm glad and I'm lucky to have them. They're very good friends. But um, yeah, it's just a lot. Hey, the real me too. Good to see you. Speaking of people who go, hello, the real me too. I love you. See, the real me too travels around to do advocacy as well. And that's what it's all about, guys. I mean, I'm not saying everybody go travel out to do it, and I'm happy to show it, but it's amazing how these people act. The feet only run. And when you go to these, okay, so when you go to these places, you actually get a better understanding in the lay of the land, so to speak, right? I do anyway. I'm very visual. So anytime I can see something more, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this makes sense, especially because you can feel the surroundings, you can see everything, how it's set up, and how people act with each other, how people interact. We had a great group that came out. We had a fantastic group that came out. I wouldn't have changed the gathering for anything except for what that cop did because he just, deflated a balloon. But other than that, we did great. We represented Sebastian in a way that he deserves, in my opinion. Yes, I know. See, that's so great. The real me too. I love that. Well, and it's the traveling too, but I do like, the car because I'm not a flyer. See, and so I have to be in a car. And, I got my podcast that I'm listening to. I listened to the 48 Hours podcast and stuff on the way this last trip that I took. But even going to the Texas Roadhouse this last time, I didn't do the filming and stuff, but I looked and there's not cameras, okay, like around the buildings. I was looking, we walked around the building and there was nothing. Now the Starbucks has the camera, but did anybody bother gathering footage from it? And that's the thing. It's so frustrating because we just don't know. Oh, really? Oh. Iconic sax jazz guy Sonny Rollins passed. Oh, dang, I'm getting old. When she says, aw, my grandmother and I used to cook in the kitchen and listen to him. Aw, that's so sweet, Witchy. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm very sorry to hear that. Yeah. Well, yeah, I like to drive. I mean, music is good. I should probably listen to more music than the podcast, but I'm just like, you know, in my zone. Because like I said, I like to listen to a lot of them to see if I can't find some similarities. Now, Sebastian Rogers' case is really, guys, off the charts bizarre, right? But I think a lot of it is by design and a lot of it is distractions, right, from the real situation. Now, we see that a lot in all of these true crime situations, but, or not all of them, but a lot of them. But Sebastian's is really, I mean, just been a circus of all of this crazy stuff going on. And much of it doesn't have to do with finding Sebastian. So, I'm really focused on this beginning time frame where we have the fall of 2022. There's some big things and changes that happen. One of which is that Katie and Chris move into the house on Stafford Court, and Sebastian also, that's when they started having the issues with DCS. So Sebastian either was having a hard time transitioning, and if we're thinking about an autistic child and them changing their environment, then we would expect that, right? If we're thinking about Sebastian, we would expect that. Hello, Cinderella. Good to see you. Okay, Andrea, thank you for being here, girl. Come on back. I think we'll still be on. But yeah, so I will just say that that all transpiring and everybody, I want you to think about how the first CPS report went because, they call it DCS, um, with Chris Proudfoot, right? Okay, so he flies off the handle for the smallest things. Like, we can't talk about his truck or he flies off the handle. We can't talk about Cruella, Mama Socks, if even when we're talking about where everybody was, because that's all we were bringing her up about. Like, where was everybody at, right? Just to get that off of the table. And that was in the Web Sleuths interview. You know, it's like, okay, let's get some of this stuff out. Let's have a meeting of the minds. And I don't think that it probably should have been public, but nevertheless, it was in public. And so they do this Web Sleuths interview, we call it, right? Where it's Trisha and her co-host, and then it was supposed to be Chloe PI. And then all of a sudden, Chloe starts talking about Mama, and here comes Chris Proudfoot, and he's pissed. So how do you think he felt when somebody reported him to CPS, or maybe even Sebastian reported something to CPS or his teachers? Hey, Narita. So we need to think about that. So the first time that they come out to the house, he's probably pissed. When they first moved in, was that when the neighbors were hearing them say these horrible things to Sebastian? Like, it was alleged that the neighbors would overhear Chris Proudfoot saying things to Katie like, you better come get your R word, son, right? Come get your R. Now, how in the world could Sebastian ever have friends over to that house when the father speaks like that, for one? So we hear in the beginning, well, Sebastian wants friends. He doesn't have any friends. Chris telling Terry Lynn that Sebastian wanted friends for Christmas. He's asking for friends for Christmas. And all of us were like, what? But he had friends at Seth's house. But he didn't have any friends at Chris and Katie's house. So we know that the CPS reports, there was a second, a third, right? A fourth, throughout about a 14-month period of time. So all of that pressure bubbling up, the second report comes in, they make contact with Chris and Katie, they come to the house the third time, and then we have the fourth time. We still have a fifth CPS report that we know nothing about. It's still open. The fifth CPS report is still open. So we don't know what's in it. We really don't. We do not know what's in it. You think it was his teachers, the real Me Too? Yeah. It very well could have been his teachers. I mean, because look, remember Chris Proudfoot himself said to Smiley on Smiley Stories World, said he went to school and he showed his teacher and he told his teacher, right? Those two statements were made. He corrected himself, you know? So yeah, I think Sebastian loved his teachers, because if you look at the pictures of Sebastian and his teachers, he's so happy. He's so cute with his teachers. He really is. He's just so excited to be standing there with his teachers. Okay, so do I have a picture of that? I think poor teachers. Well, I took the teachers out, but he's just like so excited in the picture that's closest to all the words. His teachers were on either side of him in that picture, and he was delighted to be with them. And they were delighted to be with him because he's a great kid. But he was not portrayed like that by his parents. But on day 5 of Sebastian being missing, the news spoke to his 8th grade teachers, like his junior high teachers. And they told us about Sebastian and who Sebastian is. They told us that he's a sweet kid, that he's creative, that he's very smart. They told us that. So yeah, I think they loved Sebastian a lot and they didn't want anything bad happening to him. And they probably knew that what he was going through wasn't the best situation, at all. So, and he deserves justice, guys. And that's why we go to those gatherings and things like that. Because look, when there's all of these CPS reports compounding, people ask me all the time, why aren't they in trouble for abuse, Lady Freedom? And I don't have a correct answer for that. And I wish I did, because I can't arrest them, or I would, for that. And I would question them and I would find out what happened. But there are also counseling reports and things that are none of our business that should be accounted for with the law, and they're not. And that's very worrisome. It makes me sick that his father doesn't know what's in that 5th CPS report, but he knows every single other one of them. And he said that if we could read them, that it would cause us to lose sleep like he does. And that's what we're dealing with. And the Proudfoots get on panels and they act silly. They act a fool is what I like to say. They get up there and act a fool. And they're not trying to find him. They're not doing awareness. And if they are, they're doing it behind the scenes. And I don't see how you do awareness behind the scenes. It kind of sounds like an oxymoron now, doesn't it? We are doing stuff behind the scenes. Okay. We spent a lot of money. Well, yeah, you spent a lot of money. We know that you spent 15 grand on a private investigator who has not talked about Sebastian whenever he's on a national platform. He talked about Harmony Montgomery. So you were paid not to talk about Sebastian. Great, wonderful. Glad to know it. Yeah, I mean, Shadow, I do think that Katie was trying to leave at certain points. I want you guys to remember Tony was on Mr. and Mrs. E's podcast and talked about Katie being named, right? Because she's the mom. She's his biological mom. Chris is the stepdad. Stepfoot is what we call him. But nevertheless, Katie was named and kind of being blamed because she was allowing for this behavior, and the state was not wanting to have that, because she was, to the best of my knowledge, she was on her way out, in and out, right, of this relationship with Chris. Things were rocky at best, right? But I mean, think about all of that on top of the CPS report, right? But you can't really just say, oh, we had a perfect relationship, but CPS is involved in the house, because somewhere along the lines, there wasn't a good relationship, and it was being reported on. So, yeah, we do, Chuchi. We need it. We need Sebastian's Law. Yeah, and it covers so much really important topics and issues that would help so many other families as well. But be in Sebastian's name. And, that's something that, again, it's the least that we can do, especially when we see these major gaps in CPS, when we see these major gaps in the system. We try to fill in the cracks, but it's difficult when there's these gaps. And in CPS, DCS, I want to remind you guys again, the only way that Sebastian could have gotten a referral to Bledsoe Youth Academy is from DCS. That's the only way. Like Jen says, write it down, right? Note the time I said it. Because I'm here to tell you that is a major piece to this. DCS said, send Sebastian to Bledsoe Youth Academy. Are you fucking kidding me? This kid is autistic, and you're sending him to juvie? Guys, this is CPS giving a referral for this. Hello, other YouTubers in the ether. Can you hear me? Because, I mean, that's wild. That is a major issue that's been uncovered, right? Is that we have CPS willing to write these referrals for an autistic child, not even considering his situation. He has a rare chromosome deletion as well. He has a pocket of fluid on his brain. So if you're sending him places where kids are being told to jump each other by the adults and caregivers, don't you think that that can cause a major issue? Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. When they go up there, they try to polish a turd, in my opinion. And I've done a whole series on polished turds, but that's what I call the people trying to make Chris and Katie look like they're awesome people. Because they're not. If Seth wasn't in the picture, they would send Sebastian to Bledsoe Youth Academy. Look it up. Do your research. Watch my podcasts. watch our research, because we've really researched that place like a lot, guys. We've talked about it many, many times, and we've deep dived into who even owns it. We know that monies are given from the mental health dollars of Tennessee. So, Witchy, we had a great singer on last night. I love open mic because we have a lot of entertainment. It's like a variety show. It's great. I always get nervous doing an open mic because I used to attract really weird people. In the very beginning, when I did an open mic, it would be like, oh boy, like, what am I gonna get? It's like a box of chocolates, Jenny. You know? Oh my god, open mic is like a box of chocolates. Oh boy. They need to take it. So after, well, okay, so the FBI is out, I mean, the FBI is absolutely assisting and involved. They have a $50,000 reward for Sebastian. They think he's been kidnapped because that's what the link says. I mean, don't take it from me. Look at the FBI link for Sebastian's flyer, and please share it. If you guys are new, please share this on all your social media because Sebastian needs to be found. But here's his flyer, and let me show you. It's just right here. Sebastian Rogers, wanted and kidnapped, in the same link. Hold on. Just because, I mean, I also think this is absolutely weird and needs to be addressed. But yeah, here, Boom Shakalaka. And for those that are watching, Shazam. So there we go. I mean, it says it right there. FBI.gov/wanted/kidnap/Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. So they think, and they have a reward active, $50,000 for information on Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers because they think that he's kidnapped. He's one of America's most wanted. I think from day one, but I know what, I know that won't happen. It should be any later than that. Well, they should have done everything, Sandy. They should have been the first, obviously 48 hours, but they had longer than that they did a search for a week. They scaled back the search. They said they were going to the investigative side. It stayed on the investigative side. We've never heard from the lead detective in the case ever. He's never come out and made a public statement. And when we see statements, it's usually from Craddock. So he's also one of America's most loved. He is, Witchy. He absolutely is. So, yeah. I'm going to play you guys a video really quick. Not that we have to completely switch gears. We can always just talk about variety. We're just doing true crime updates today. And but I do want to show you this video that I made of our friend over at North Carolina Beat. And I think everybody needs to be talking about this young lady. She is a beautiful young lady that was found in a very horrible situation. And I cannot believe that she's from the Democratic Republic of Congo and also an American, or has been living as an American, and no one is talking about her being found in this condition. It's absolutely appalling and disgusting, and we need more people calling all creators in the ether to help with this. Come on, guys, we can do better. Please do better. Take 15 minutes to talk about this young lady rather than talk about the nastiness in the streets. All right, rant over, and we're going to show you this video. Let's get it going. So, police report was obtained by the North Carolina Beat, right? And it's uncovering more shocking truths about what happened to Juliana Ziti, right? And again, my heart goes out to her and what happened to her, because it's just not adding up. So I want to show you this.
What's up, y'all? This your boy Gerald with the NCB. Listen, y'all, so many of you may have seen this story and a lot of you may not have seen this story. This over the weekend, we received a tip that a 16-year-old girl, originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo, was found hanging from a tree on a church's property. And the church's property, according to a police report that the North Carolina Bee obtained, the location was 4220 West Sugar Creek Road, which is the United House of Prayer for All People, which this church location is located in Charlotte, North Carolina. The 16-year-old has been identified as Juliana Nazita. During our investigation, we were able to track down the man and his dog Cosmo, who found the 16-year-old hanging from this tree. Man is Kenneth Tolbert, who is known in the community as Mufasa. He is with an organization called Brothers Helping Brothers. Mr. Tolbert told me that he and his dog Cosmo spends time in the community in the area, and they enjoy helping people and they spend time helping people. He said that on Friday, May 8th, he was on the church's property when him and his dog Cosmo found 16-year-old Juliana Nazita. Mr. Tolbert said that he alerted church staff on the property at the time, and in a video that we posted on our website, you can hear those church members along with Mr. Tolbert as he's showing them where he found the body at. And even in that video, one of the church members say that they were out the day before and they did not see anyone hanging from a tree. Now, y'all, when you look at the photo and the video, especially the photo, I had to do my best to blur it out, but I'm looking at this small ass chair, this rope high tied to a tree, and this girl like feet is touching the ground. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, if she stood in that chair, she still wouldn't have been able to reach where the rope is tied at. If you ask me, this is just my opinion. And then if you look at the tree, I'm like, okay, she could have climbed the tree. She wouldn't need that. She just look all staged. And I'm not saying that any foul play is suspected, but in my opinion, as a regular person looking at the photo, that looks very weird. So also part of the police report we got, this is what the narrative said. It said on 5/8/2026 at 12:40 p.m., the listed victim was pronounced deceased at this location, the 4200 block of West Sugar Creek Road. That's all it says. And it was ruled a suicide. And you can see it up there under UCR classification. And you know what? This case reminded me of the Javion McGee's case. If you don't remember, back in September of 2024, Javion McGee, who you see right here, was found hanging from a tree in Vance County, and they tracked his movements and found that he had went to Walmart, bought rope, went and took the rope to the place, walked back to his truck, then walked back to where the rope was at alone, and he was found. And I just felt like that with the way that scene was set up with Juliana Nazita in Charlotte that I'm talking about, I just felt like that, they would at least try to track her movements. We also
Okay, guys, so they would absolutely track her movements, and I thought that was a stellar comparison, because when we look at these cases, we don't see her buying anything. We don't see her pulling the chair over to where the chair was found. We don't see her on camera anywhere walking in the area. There's a 7-Eleven right down the street. What direction did she come from, and where was she for 10 days? Where was she for 10 whole days, this girl? Her family reported her missing on April 28th, 2026. And then they, after that, made the handwritten or handmade flyers, but the police never made a flyer for this family. I haven't found any Aware Foundation or any kind of flyers. So if you guys have seen a flyer that's a proper flyer that has her description, what she left in, what did she take with her? We still do not know this about what happened to Juliana. We do not know this. Her parents are very hard to find and have been quiet. We're wondering if maybe they're undocumented, and that might be the reason for it, right? So maybe they're scared, and I understand that. I'm not faulting anyone here, and I am not trying to allege that anyone is guilty, but I do think that if I think that she didn't do this to herself, then I think that someone else did. So I have to also weigh that into the situation. And so I'm looking for people who could have had means, motive, and opportunity to commit this crime against Juliana. We saw the video. We saw the still shot. It looks staged. She looks posed in a position. The chair, we weren't able to locate the exact chair. There's still a bolo. I put it out on on my community wall, right? We're looking for this chair. It's like a little kid's chair. So no flyers, the real Me Too, nothing for her. And the flyer that was put out had a young picture of her as a little girl, not as a young lady. She's 16. Very strange. Yeah, Mufasa's a suspect. He's suspect number one for us, right? In the public opinion, I agree. Because he doesn't have the brightest past, right? And then also he's claiming to be someone who just goes around helping people and finding these missing people. But he stumbles upon her and then he skips out because he's got some kind of court filings. He's also claiming to be a minister at the Moorish Church, which we talked about extensively last night on the live. Like, if you guys want to talk about churches and, read the comments and the chat, because we had Jennifer Aaron was here talking about that subject, as well as, we had Jen on the panel and also our friend Libra. So, and we were deep diving into it because a lot of it has to do with these churches, in my opinion. There's a lot of connections. Right. The chair never flipped over. Her feet were touching the ground. In my opinion, no way. Rest in peace. Thank you, Stephanie. And it's so sad. Like, absolutely everything you just said is like major points. Why I know that she didn't do this to herself. The positioning is so off for it to have been possible. But they pronounced her at the scene. No autopsy has been performed. So here we go.
Out to the Church United House of Prayer for All People for a statement, and we have not heard anything back. We also reached out to Nazita's family, and we have not heard anything back. And we do send our condolences, our thoughts, and our prayers to their family.
Okay, guys. So, Juliana is 16 years old. She goes missing on April 28th, 2026. And they put out the flyer. You can see it's tiny in the background, right? A younger version of her, handwritten, no flyers, 10 days she's missing. Where was she for 10 days? Where was Juliana for 10 whole days? And then she just turns up at the church in that condition that she's found. So sad. And this is Gerald's channel, guys. The NCB, right? North Carolina Beat. He does a great job of coverage on her case. Not a lot of people are covering her. So we need to stick together on that. We need to cover her case. We need to keep asking questions. Services are not going to be done until January 27th, 2020. Excuse me, June. Scratch that. June 27th is her going home, right? She's going to have a family viewing the day before on the 26th and the 27th. They're going to do her ceremony. But that's not till June 27th of 2026. And so maybe they are working on getting an autopsy or a second opinion. Maybe the family is doing that. I don't know. Again, that's why I don't like to point fingers. I just like to ask the questions and have us discuss topics that we can maybe try to figure out what happened here. Right? The most recent picture of Juliana is this one right here that I know of. And she is in front of a church, and that is her church, New Emmanuel. Right? Hey, Wendy, good to see ya. Do we know how decomp was and allegedly time of death? So, Cinderella, that's a great question. So, in the video that Kenneth Tolbert, aka Mufasa, took of them walking up on Juliana, there were flies and maggots present on the body because Kenneth Tolbert said, I thought she was a doll and I didn't think this was real. And the gentleman that was with him from the church said there are flies and maggots on her. And Kenneth Tolbert did not call 911. He went to the church and he got two people. One was a female and the other one was a male, and brought them to the scene. So, time of death has not been determined. As far as I know, it was 12:40 p.m. when she was pronounced. And again, that was on the scene. And we found out last night that they don't have to perform an autopsy. It's not mandatory. And so they didn't. They just went there and ruled that she took her own life. So, yeah, Cinderella. And it takes about 8 to 24 hours for the maggots to be present, right? Because the flies would have to lay the eggs and then they would have to hatch open. So, yeah, thank you, Chuchi. So, thank you, Wendy. I know, and she just so bright and had a future ahead of her. You know, she was an honor student. She was soft-spoken, people said, but she was very sweet and kind-hearted. It's absolutely devastating that this has happened. Just absolutely devastating. And this is another really pretty picture that someone had made for her. But again, that's the most recent picture that I know of Juliana. So, Yeah, guys. I mean, just hearing it from the horse's mouth. Again, I'm thinking about maybe emailing North Carolina Beat and just see if maybe he can give us some more clarity of how she looked without the blur on the image, right? I understand why they blurred the image. Um, it's important for victims to have their dignity. Um, I think that it appeared there was some sort of a rope, like a red, but it wasn't thick or anything like that in the picture, that the still that was taken. And then we were thinking it's either some sort of a scarf or maybe even some sort of a latch, like tie down latch that's being used on the tree. So it doesn't give a lot of detail in the police report um, at all. So, hey Gina, good to see you. Thank you for being here. There's something definitely wrong with the story. I agree. I agree, Mama. And it's so sad because the way that she was found would be so devastating to her family and disgraceful towards her. And it just seems so personal, and it's just, it's very sad. Well, we were talking about her phone, Cinderella. Does anybody know who she's been, who she's been with? Nobody knows that. I mean, her phone would leave a digital footprint, I would imagine, but it's weird that it's weird that it didn't, you know? Yeah, we're basically running our own investigation, Chi Chi, basically. I mean, because look, it's something that's very disturbing. And, I think she deserves much better than this. I really do. I think she deserves so much better. Um, so yeah, and the fact that not a whole lot of people are talking about this is very disturbing to me because, you would think that there'd be a lot of people from her area that would also be wanting to get her story out. So we'll just have to see how this transpires. I do want to point out, because we pointed out last night on the night show, that this guy that found her, Kenneth Mufasa Tolbert, also drew significant attention, known by many in the area for helping search for missing individuals. Tolbert and his service dog Cosmo have participated in efforts involving vulnerable people across the community. So he's the one that found her, but he also doesn't have the best record, especially when it comes to females and violent crimes against them. We'll just put it that way, allegedly, in my opinion. So, very interesting. Again, sidebar, it's taboo in Juliana's culture to commit such an act and then to be caught at the church. I also wanted to get you guys this part right here, too. Okay, so yes, here it is. 5/8/2026 at 12:40 p.m. The listed victim was pronounced deceased at the location. This all occurred at 4220. Sorry, it's so teeny tiny. West Sugar Creek Road. Sorry. So yeah, excuse me. So yeah, this is all that was told. That's all she wrote on that because the police didn't do, in my opinion, an adequate investigation. It wasn't very lengthy. And then right here, I want to point out as well, a homicide, right? You see this word right here? It's barely, and he put it right here, okay, which I understand. I know it's, you got to show a little bit of, we got to read between the lines sometimes with this stuff. But, and then it was ultimately ruled that she took her own life. So, I mean, in my opinion, it absolutely looks like the latter. And she was posed at the church, right? The scene was staged in order to humiliate Juliana, and I think that was the goal. It's a very scary thought, and I hate that for her. But if we don't say it, then we can't fix it, right? Or we can't help the situation. We're sweeping it under the rug where they want it. Witchy, good to see you. I'm glad you're back. So, and that's right. Yes. And, and that's the thing. I don't want to take away from the fact that this does happen. But we were also reading last night that, she was 12 years old when they said this bullying occurred. And I don't know that it would stick with her that long. Of course, it probably sticks with you your whole life. But I mean, I'm talking about where she would become so distraught to take her own life over something that happened when she was 12. Did it go on until she was 13, 14? Okay, then she's 16, 2 years later. She's still experiencing such the harshity of it. Like, it's when you're in it that it's the worst, right? The aftermath is horrible, but when you're in it, it's the worst time, right? It's the most dangerous time. So, especially as it comes to, you taking your own life because of it, in my opinion. But if you're feeling any type of way about life, because life is hard, guys, suicide crisis line 988 lifeline.org, right? It's really important. And you can also chat with people. I know people personally that work for this type of a hotline, and they're the best person in the world to me. And what they do is they help people that are going through a crisis, and real-time help and care and compassion. So if you're feeling that way, just know that there's good people on the other end of that line. I know that can be so difficult. I don't know about it from the crisis line standpoint, although there's been times where I probably should have called there too, but more so with domestic violence hotline. I've called, gotten resources, gotten help in the moment, because sometimes even if you have a great support system and counselor, sometimes if it's 2 a.m. and you're struggling at that moment with such horrible anxiety, right? At that moment, they're there to help, right? Because, and they're professionals. They're professionals. And so I think it's really important to reach out to them, whether it's the DV, whether it's the 988. Because again, there are good people on the other end of that line. I promise you, people are people. We're always going to let each other down, but you'll have good resources. So, and at least you'll have some help that night, right? When you're in it, you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter what situation it pertains to. When you're in the middle of, in the weeds of this horrible situation, they're there to help. How can we make a public outcry for this to change? I would like to know for sure if her parents are here or in Congo and what they want to, and what they want to. Yeah, which I suppose North Carolina reached out to them, but they didn't want to comment. So they're not even asking for help or like what we can do. They have the GoFundMe. The GoFundMe has the wrong information on it. That's why I've not dropped it, because I'm not sure of it. It's very unsettling to me. It's scary, that they're not talking, they're not speaking out. And I've heard, and I haven't heard or seen anything about her family. I think I might have gotten her father's name. This family and a lot of these people in the community the Democratic Republic of Congo, they do speak French, by the way. Lady Freedom, no speak French, right? But I do have bad French where I have to excuse my French, right? But other than that, French is not my language, right? I speak English, and I'm decent at it. But yeah, I do not parlez-vous français? No. So Well, exactly, Lisa King. Without an autopsy done, no other injuries will be known. I still feel something is off about this. It's so weird, isn't it? I know. I'm like a dog with a bone on this one too, and so is Chuchi because we're like, this is not right. This is absolutely not right at all. So there is something way, way off about this. So yeah, it does. It does show bravery and courage, the real Me Too. It absolutely does. See, in which he exactly that North Carolina does not require a medical autopsy to be done, but if family wants one, they can pay for it themselves. This is for minors as well as adults. Well, I would pay that. I'd give them the money. Just kidding. I'm broke. But no, I mean, seriously, I'm sure they can get money for that as long as the medical examiner on the scene says self unaliving. That's it. Oh my gosh. See, and that is so sad. So maybe her family really wants to do this, but they don't have the money and they're really expensive, thousands of dollars, so yeah, that is so sad. And that's why I'm very hesitant to point any fingers in that direction because I don't know. I mean, there's a lot we don't know about this. I have tons of questions. These are the things that really bug me when we get into it because it's like, okay, we have this beautiful young girl. What has happened to her? All these church connections. I mean, guys, don't even get me started on Sweet Daddy. The day crew might not fully know who Sweet Daddy is and what he's about and the lineage of Sweet Daddy. And if you want to know about it, I have videos, guys. Go watch the videos. And some of them it's paused to read, right? But I also will always go over them in the live. It's just kind of like a little sneak peek for those of you who like to go and do your own research because I like to put those in and then you guys can go and do a little bit more searching, right? Because that's important too. I love when you guys are knowledgeable and we were all putting our heads together last night and yeah, Sweet Daddy. One thing we know about a Sweet Daddy is it seems icky, right? Chuchi, I was like, well, do the boys have to call him that too? I was like, otherwise it's not fair. Otherwise it's icky. Actually, Lady Freedom, scratch that. But I mean, it is weird, right? Because we don't I mean, that's different for all of us, isn't it? So, well, there's a whole bunch of them. The real Me Too. The so I haven't heard about the Sweet Daddy, but it sounds interesting. So the ministers, the ministers and all of that, they are called Sweet Daddy. And they're the ones that are above all in the church. And there's different ones that are, well, I think they're called bishops. I'm sorry. And I'm definitely not trying to disrespect anybody's religion because I don't agree with that. Hey Peggy. So, I don't want to condone that behavior or think that you guys, make people think that we're trying to poke fun of the religion because the Sweet Daddy thing is no, it's different. It's different. But when you look at the way it's set up, it's reminiscent of like a David Koresh vibe, right? Where it's like a whole cult and these people follow this one person, and it's not something that we're used to seeing when there's a normal circumstance involved, especially when there's a little girl found at one of their churches in such a way. Right? It is gross, Lisa. Okay, I know, and I'm trying not to be critical, but I have to agree it is gross. And that's why I said, do the boys have to also call the preacher Sweet Daddy, the bishop, sorry. What is happening there? We also find out that they have a warehouse, right? Now, what they might keep in a warehouse could be some sort of rations for, food for the congregation if there is someone who needs help, and food baskets and clothes and diapers and different things that a church would have on hand in order to help in a situation, food drives, that sort of thing. Warehouse seems normal in that circumstance. However, it's strange because there's also a big mansion and a lot more, um, ritualistic, strange things that are being done. And, religious connections, you know. No sweet daddy or poppy over here. Sorry. No, I mean, not in a church situation because we can see how that might go south, So I agree with that, Witchy. Yeah, I agree with that. And, Bullhorn Betty and I had a discussion about that because, and that's why it's really important for us to have those discussions and then to continue to cover cases where the news isn't going to be the first one on the scene to try to get the scoop, because those stories matter just as much as the ones that people have shown a lot of public interest in, right? But it's tough for us creators because we want to drum up that excitement, and so we're absolutely trying to find ways to engage you guys about these lesser talked about cases. And so, again, that's why I love Jen for, jumping on the bandwagon over here, right? Let's jump on some good bandwagons. And this one's one of them. What happened to Juliana? We really need to bang the drum for her and go to bat for her. So I know, the real Me Too. And that's what's hilarious is because I keep calling him Big Daddy. So the real Me Too says is Sweet Daddy related to Big Daddy, and not to my knowledge. But I keep calling him that, and it's like they're probably thinking, who's Big Daddy? We're talking about this guy, Sweet Daddy. But that's so funny. No, I don't think there's any relation that I know. I don't know though. We found some uncanny connections, especially with the churches. I'm telling you guys, these churches. I don't know what's happening, but my child would not be calling no man that was not related to him Sweet Daddy, or even a man that's related to him. I know. I can't imagine if, like, my daughter's father had said, I think we should have her call me Sweet Daddy. I'd be like, I think you need to shut up. Like, no, hell to the no, right? Yeah, Peggy, I'm with you on that. Wouldn't fly with me, the real Me Too. Would never fly with me. No, no, ma'am, no ham, right? What she AI, while the younger female members are often called maids, have specific duties like fanning him. Oh, handling his offerings. They have love offerings, guys. That's another red flag, in my opinion. Don't come for me because I'm not of this background, but I'm saying it's strange. Using the title is not exclusive. And see, this is what is scary, right? Because I know I get the giggles when we talk about this stuff because it is strange to me. It is. It's very strange. So, but correct me if I'm wrong. All the congregants use Sweet Daddy or similar variation to address and sing about the church's leader. See, and it's good in some circumstances to have someone, obviously in a church, we're going to have a priest or someone. We all know that. Or in these situations, yes. But that's walking a real fine line, in my opinion. Oh, yes, we do. We do. Yes, we need to collaborate. The real Me Too. Oh, yes. She would love that, and it would be so good. I can set it up. Yes, that would be great. Yes, please do. No, nothing against the churches. No, yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. But there are like some cult stuff and dangerous, very dangerous, and I think that it's worth looking into in this circumstance, especially how she was found, where she was found. Emma, and they didn't check for SA. They did not check for SA. No, they did not. So, no, they did not check for any type of SA. Right. Well, and that's the thing we look to God, and it's right there in the Bible. They're like, tell us, don't listen to the false prophets. I'm not the best to quote directly, but we all kind of know the guidelines. We know the big ones to follow, right? And we just being a good person also is so important, because it would crack me up sometimes in church parking lots, after service, and people are like acting crazy, because they want to get out of the parking lot. And it's like, did we just go to church? So I got nothing against the church, but I have huge problems with cults. Well, yeah, I mean, same here, especially ones that are degrading to anyone. Yeah, and I feel like it's very degrading, you know? I feel like it's very degrading, especially towards women, right? And we got to stand up to that crap. I mean, I think that just humans in general deserve to have dignity and pride, and that being held and kept intact, right? So, but when it comes to women, yeah, I'm gonna stand up for it. So, yeah, justice for Juliana, exactly. Yeah, Mama, follow the 10, right? And the golden rule is always a good one, and it's just about being a good person. Having a relationship with God too is very important. We've been talking a lot about that lately, guys, especially when you're in it, right? But even when you're not, being thankful and grateful is always a wonderful place to be. A spot of gratitude and saying thanks, giving thanks for the things we have. So yeah, if people want to believe in God, good on them. Yeah, religion and churches are designed, yeah, to control people, in my opinion. Well, it can be very rough, right? I mean, it's always good when you can find a good church or place of worship or gathering place with people, right? It's always a good thing, in my opinion. But I know what you're saying. Sometimes it can be overwhelming. And also, you want people to feel comfortable, especially if you're in a church, right? Because it's supposed to be God's house. Well, and that's true. Peggy says nowadays you have to be careful about what you're joining with your children, who made it, if it's a religion or just a club. Right. I know. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I agree. And that's the thing about the sweet daddy stuff, is that I think about the kids more so. But then again, when we look at cults historically, I mean, it's something that um, is dangerous, right? Because even the adults in the situation, like you have men giving their wives to the preachers and stuff, right? And that's horrible. Yeah, witchy. It's just so sad, and we don't even know her color, but we've been putting yellow hearts, and because I think they're pretty too. Hey Libra, good to see ya. Yeah, so I mean, I was raised very religious, Cinderella says, and I don't believe in organized religion because of all of the crimes to children in churches. Yeah, in my opinion, they should get no tax breaks. Well, and it's horrible that they're facilitating this evil in those places of worship. That's the most horrible thing, And I do believe that they are preying on such organizations, too. We talked about that last night, about everybody, making others look bad when it's not a part of the bigger picture too. Yeah, no, and we don't want to degrade anybody's religious beliefs. No, not at all. You know, Yeah, Lisa, and I think that's good. I used to do, my little Sunday service down at the river, and just sit down there. Now there's a lot of alligators, but so it has to be the beach. But hey, I think it's prettier. But it's something that you can become one with nature and go out and, God is in our hearts, right? He's in our hearts, our minds, our souls, and so that's where we can find him always. It's not about what building you go to, or who you're trying to impress. But it's good to have a community, you know? So that's right, Witchy. If anyone tells you you can't speak to your God unless it's through them, that's the first major red flag. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, because it's about control at that point, isn't it? It's about like, and that is such a lie. Yeah, I agree. I agree. So, and yeah, guys, please go sign the petition for Dominic and Davion, please, 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 please. It would really help things a lot. It would help their families navigate at this hard time. And again, just read it for yourselves. And if you feel so compelled, please do that. Yeah, no, and it's definitely not about that. And again, if I get giggly when I talk about Sweet Daddy and stuff, it's just because it makes me feel uncomfortable. Don't think I'm laughing at I'm not laughing at anybody. I'm laughing because I'm uncomfortable and nervous talking about it. It's like very it just gives me the ick, It does. The little town I grew up in church, and the head deacon at the church was a pedo. Oh, eventually went to prison. Well, those Chester Cheetahs of the world, we all know where we think they belong. It's straight to the wood chipper. You don't pass go. You don't collect $200. You won't need it where you're going. Get the baby curl, right? We're going to take your picture with a baby curl, and then you're going to the wood chipper, son. That's how we do it over here at Lady Freedoms. We don't deal with the Chester Cheetahs of the world. We put them on the island, right? That way we can be free of them. So, oh my goodness, 2-7. Yeah, well, and that's such a great point that we haven't touched on also is the fact that people are giving immense amounts of money to these places, right? And I mean, it all comes down to the money. It's definitely the root of all evil. Money is. It's necessary to live. But yeah, my friend's parents sold everything um, to NH, had to give everything they had to the church leader, and lived in a hotel for free. Oh my goodness. And see, they do strip away everything that you have in order to leave the place. That's what's so scary. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's so sad. And I hope they were able to recuperate from that. And it is a total psychological mind F with these churches because I mean everybody wants to be a part of something. Everybody wants to worship and feel good about life and go to church on Sunday, feel good. But it's sad when you're taken advantage of, and that should never happen. It happens a lot though. It does. Yeah, especially with the essay in the churches. And I do believe they prey on churches for that reason. And they've done it for so long. It's not new. It's been going on for so long and it's sad. Because it steals the person's um childhood away. And especially because I grew up in church too, and it's like, you look at that like, oh wow, I have to go to church to be a good person. I have to learn these things, right? And then these people are doing wrong. The leaders are doing you wrong, and that's awful. And a lot of times when you're Catholic, it's like, Mom, do we really have to go to church? I just did catechism, but it's like you do, and you go, right? And especially if you were in a Catholic school, then you go to church a lot too. So, I grew up a lot in it. My dad's side was Christian, so a little difference of opinion there, but learned a lot of different religious values. And again, I've gone to church with Lutheran friends. I've gone to church with Greek Orthodox friends. We were talking about that the other night because they had like a dome, and I think I remember going to one of the churches like that. And, you just kind of have to choose your own way, but it's sad when you're taken advantage of in the church because you're giving money to help, right? You think you're helping, but you're giving money to help. And yeah, when they take it all from you or make you think that if you don't give up your wife or whatever, I mean, they'll even try to take your darn wife or whatever. It's terrible. The Catholic Church in my town, the priest was having an affair with his housekeeper. Oh, Lord. They got caught and turned in by the biggest cheater in town. Oh my gosh. They should have had cheaters show up with Joey Greco. I'm Joey Greco with cheaters. Does anyone else remember the Knights of the Crystal Blade? I think I did hear about that, Witchy. They brainwash people, especially those who are gullible, weak, and in bad place looking for guidance. And they do. They do the real Me Too. And that's the thing, it's so sad because, God is somebody that you can turn to in those times. And again, like I said, not only in those times, but, that's a good person to lean on. I mean, that's who you should be. But when you have these religious weirdos taking advantage of that, and I do believe brainwashing is a major element. I do believe brainwashing is a major element to that. Witchy says, me too, Lady Freedom, and one of the things I learned is those that holler the loudest from the front row are often nastiest ones. Oh yeah. When it's not Sunday morning. Exactly. They'll be flipping people off in the parking lot after church. And all that, and acting a fool. And I agree. And they hide behind the cloak of that. They really do. They hide behind what they can get away with, what they can get over on people. And you're right. And there's a lot of gossip and horrible things that go on too sometimes in those environments, which is, it's not an environment to lift people up. But I've been to a lot of good churches, I will say that, where it seemed like a good environment. And if you have a good preacher and they have a good message for you, it's always going to be a good experience, right? I can't knock that. If somebody's willing to give me some emotional, and spiritual guidance, I'm willing to take it. So, it's nice. But yeah, I just have a feeling about this situation that just rubs me the wrong way. So yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, the young kids were rescued from 50-gallon barrels in the desert. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, I don't think I heard of that. Which I really don't. I really don't think I've heard of that because wow, that's unbelievable. The thing is I just don't understand why people are hurting each other the way they are in this world. It's very sick and sadistic. Hello, Christmas Swan. Good to see you. So, yeah, guys, I mean, it's wild. And, I just hope that we're going to be able to get closer to what happened in all of these cases. Hopefully, we can bring some awareness. Again, if you feel so inclined, please go and share out the petition. And I'm going to watch the Netflix special because I haven't watched it yet. And then that way, we can get a better idea of what we'll talk about later on tonight. I also at least need to get out one part of Pascal's interview with Seth. So I want to play that on the late show tonight with you guys. Because I think it's important to go back and go over what Seth has said in the past. and put him in the hot seat. No, I'm just kidding. I don't put Seth in the hot seat. Look, I've worked with Seth long enough to know that he didn't have anything to do with his son's disappearance and that he doesn't know where his son is. I know that he's going through a tremendous amount of troubles and pains this 2 years, over 2 years, losing somebody like Tony from our team. Everything that he's gone through, he's had to grin and bear it and keep moving for Sebastian, and he is. And I just can't be more proud of somebody for doing that for their child, especially when we have a lack of that on the other side of the aisle, in my opinion. Right? So, my thoughts and prayers are always with Seth and Sebastian. I try to figure out what could have happened here. We have his mother and stepfather who have told us 50% truths in the situation, and that's not my assessment. That's a computer spitting out the number, right? A computer that doesn't know Chris or Katie or any of the internet drama crap. It's just saying that they came out 52% truthful. So we rounded it. And we're going to say 50-50. And Katie was caught on camera for much of the day. For much of the day, Katie put herself on camera and was out and about, as she would put it. We have the Texas Roadhouse footage. We're going to be re-examining that also. But I want to go all the way back again, like I said, guys, to them putting him in a school because of the CPS reports that Seth was none the wiser to. Now he's very wise to them, and he knows everything except for about the last one. So again, we need to go back. So we'll be doing that. Yeah, the best weekend ever. We thought it was the best weekend ever. I thought in the beginning that Katie might have just taken Sebastian for the best time ever in order to, well, I guess in order to send him away or send him off or hurt him or something, because in Timothy Pitson's case, that was one that was very, close to what happened and what we thought was happening, and giving him the best day, giving him the best weekend. And that's what happened with Timothy. He had the best weekend, but his mom took him to the water parks and all that kind of stuff before he just vanished, which we know doesn't happen. But that's not really the case here. When we see the Texas Roadhouse, that changes my perspective completely. And it shows me that they didn't have the best weekend ever. It shows me that they weren't even having the best day or the best interactions together. They were sitting at the same table, but they were miles apart. And then Katie's sneakily snapping pictures of Sebastian. But she's not smart enough to get away with it or stealthy enough, because Sebastian catches right on. So, no, Christmas Swan. Chris and Katie did not move away. We did have Seth confirm that in the chat the other night. But I know it's confusing because there are people that think that they're in Maryland, but they're not. Even if they were, Chris always traveled for work anyway. So, but they didn't sell their house or anything like that. So, but yeah, we confirmed that. That's right, the real Me Too. I hope so. I hope they find Sebastian soon. Yeah, I know. I'm always thinking about him too. I know you are. The real Me Too says he's always on my mind day and night, and my heart breaks seeing Seth go through so much pain. Yeah, it's just unnecessary, It's unnecessary pain, and it's sad to see him go through it. It really is. So, Miss Snap a lot, right? I'm telling you, I'm telling you, Chuchi, she's really done her fair share in this situation, in my opinion. But yeah, as far as I know, now, do I know if Katie's working for Brinks anymore? I don't. I'm guessing that somebody might have, like, I'm guessing someone might have bought her car. Excuse me, the van, her car, the van for the work van. So, okay, love you, Kiki. I know. Well, you're on vacation, girl. You enjoy your vacation now. Well, hello, Mark Klein. Good to see you. Hey, great to see you, friend. So, yeah, well, and that's the thing too. Katie likes to accompany her husband in the camper, and their camper is very nice, guys. It's not like, a trashy camper or anything. It's nice. It's very comfortable, especially for two people. Especially when Sebastian's not around, and we know, and Seth told us that Katie would go visit Chris Proudfoot, right? Katie would go visit him when Sebastian was at Seth's house, when it was Seth's weekend. So, very curious as to whether she's camping with Chris, which that would be more logical in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, look, and I really appreciate anyone who is willing to talk about Sebastian, but when it comes to them moving, that is misinformation, right? And it's irresponsible. But in my opinion, everybody can have their own opinion about everything that's going on here. We can all speculate, we can all theorize. That's what we're meant to do here. If we're trying to get to the bottom of things. So, more power to anybody that's trying to figure out what's going on. But no, Chris and Katie are in Hendersonville, right? Their home is there. Uh, Cruella and the Sox are there. They also have pending litigation there. Okay, so they're staying put for a little bit. They're not going to be traveling to and fro. Katie's job is different than that. She's an installation technician, and they do just stick it, locally. They're not going to send her to Maryland um, to install a Brinks home security system. And they're not going to allow for Chris to take her van and install home security systems either. We have to think logically. Chris is really, he's a roughneck guy. He is a crane operator, right? He's also Chrissy Pissy Bitch Boy, right? In my opinion, but he's also not a Brinks home installation tech. Katie is. So I know who isn't sus. Exactly. I'm sure his workmates are too, Mark. I would imagine they would be. Um, he had that one that talked to the PIs, and then he had the other guy named like Julio. So yeah, they have to be fully suspicious of him, especially when he's not, he had no urgency to get home that day. If I'm stepfoot and I'm in a crane, um, I'm gonna let my people know right away. I'm gonna say my stepson is missing. I have to get home, right? I need my replacement. So, oh, the real Me Too says Tony and I became very close, and I'm good friends with his wife. She needs prayers. Yeah, absolutely. We're always praying for Dana. Yeah, thank you, the real Me Too. Tony did so much behind the scenes that nobody even knows about. He did a lot for Seth and Sebastian. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he's a good man. He was a good man. Um, I agree, the real Me Too. People have no idea. People have no idea. Um, Tony was a very, very good man. And the way that he helped Seth and he was there for him as a friend, as an advocate, all that he did for Sebastian's case to bring light to it. Um, yeah, it's just a major loss. It's a major loss for the um for Sebastian's army, for the cause, and I don't think that we fully grasped that, and Seth's having to deal with that. And then, those of you who knew him way better than me, but just the way that Tony touched my life again with helping me with Devlin's case and that sort of thing. I mean, he's the type of person that's there and wants to offer a solution to a problem. And when we have people like that, those are the golden people that we really need to keep close to us because they care. They genuinely care. And it's not about what they can get off of the situation. It's about helping, and that's a huge thing for this community. We need people like that. We need to be that ourselves, They don't have any urgency to stay home. And that's the only thing she was asked to do, the real Me Too. The only thing Katie was asked to do was stay at home. And she didn't even do that. She got the hell out of Dodge real quick. That is a huge red flag, in my opinion. A huge red flag. Right, exactly, Mark. People in his line of work don't BS about most likely happen. Exactly. Right. And, it's so weird, the stories that came out in the beginning. And I can't say if they're 100% true or not, of course, right? I wasn't there. I didn't hear them with my own ears. But it does ring true to Stepfoot's behavior, on these streets. And so I would believe most anything. Now, there was some gal that was coming into like Justin's chat and my chat talking about she dated Chris Proudfoot. I don't think that's the case. And, my old managing mod, we were going over that together, basically comparing notes from Justin's to mine, and things were not adding or matching up. And so that's why I find her to be an unreliable source. But because I definitely fact checked that right away. But yeah, I mean, I believe that Chris Proudfoot was definitely giving Katie ultimatums and probably trying to make her jealous, by talking to other girls and things like that. I mean, let's be honest, nobody really likes that. Christmas Swan says I googled Splash the Otter. Oh yeah, Christmas One. I've done a couple of videos. He isn't as easy to get. I was hoping for you need permission or a request from the sheriff's office. Your case is in connection. Well, so here's the thing about Splash the Otter, Christmas One, and I did an update. According to Splash the Otter's handler, he is already involved with working with the TBI in Sumner County Sheriff's Office in Sebastian's missing case. And he's dedicated to helping in Sebastian's case. Now, whether he would actually have his otter search the basins for us, that's a whole nother situation. If they enlist his help and they are because we know they're involved with the TBI, I doubt we're going to get an update on that. I wish we could, and I'm hoping for it. I'm hoping that they will check those basins just to kind of, make sure. But they're, to the best of my knowledge, they're already working with him, with the TBI. So, and I did do an update on that. Hey, Warrior Princess. So yeah, great news there too, because guys, look, we don't know what law enforcement's doing, and they're not going to tell us, right? I could play you guys the nasty ass honey badger video again because I find it to be hilarious and informative. No, I'm just kidding. But really, I mean, they do. They treat us like that, right? Like we can get them the information, but then they're at the end of the day, they're not going to tell us what they're doing. So maybe with all of us, see, my goal with Splash the Otter, the goal with Jilly and Jen, we really wanted to get Splash the Otter to check the basins, right? Because when we were checking the waterways on our search, and then they did another search together, there was all this debris, right? And we have to look at and check into that debris because we could find some kind of evidence and hopefully not find Sebastian, because that'd be the worst case scenario. But we have to check these places, right? If we're actively searching them, we have to actively search every avenue and option. And I think with those big culverts being open, this is a good option, right? And then we didn't know that there was Splash the Otter. So Jilly got a hold of his handler and they said, yeah, he's already working with we're working with the TBI and I'm dedicated to finding Sebastian. So maybe with the public pressure, they will go and do this and rule that place out, you know? And I just pray they let Seth know, you know, because I do think that he deserves to have answers. So yeah, he always had his Sebastian bracelets. I'm telling you, I've never taken mine off either. You know, so yeah, he is a giver. He is a giver, the real Me Too. Yeah. I mean, he gave of his time, of his friendship, of his love, of his compassion, you know. Yeah. Well, me too. In which I had to apologize to Tony, and I did publicly. Chris is not getting my public apology, but Tony did. Well, because of all the all of the hoopla, we know, guys, and I'm not even going to mention it because to me, it's not indicative of who Tony was, and it doesn't define him. You know, it's just a bunch of us knuckleheads out here. Of course, we're going to talk about it. But I really did check into Tony too, and it was like I can't even see him getting any kind of anything out of this besides helping Seth, right? And so in that point, I'm like, Tony's all right with me. You know, hey Linda Hall, good to see you. Who leaves their home when you yes, exactly, the real Me Too. Who leaves their home when your child just went missing? Oh, that's right. Katie was the thoughtful to leave a blanket and water. Well, and that's another thing. I think that's so interesting that you brought that up, the real Me Too, because, you know, it appears that Sebastian was able to get into his house, according to the neighbor across the street that was watching her Ring camera footage to verify this. 3 o'clock on Friday, he gets off the bus and he uses the code to get in the door, the front door that they say that he usually goes in and out of, right? And he locks it behind himself, but Katie said beside himself, right? So anyway, the neighbor says he got in fine on Friday. The Saturday, she says that when they got home from Costco or wherever they went out for the day, Katie again let Sebastian out of the vehicle and he went to the front door, but his code wouldn't work. And so he skipped his way back and he went in through the garage. Okay, very important details that were shared on Sweetie Pilo's channel. And then Sunday, Katie goes straight into the garage. Straight in the garage. In my opinion, she changed the garage code, and that's why Sebastian couldn't get in on Saturday. That's my opinion. That's what the evidence suggests. You know? So, well, good. Christmas Swan, I'm so happy to hear that. And see, this is the thing. Splash can help with so many other cases. And I think it's a wonderful thing to bring awareness to. I'm just glad he's working with the TBI already. You know, that makes me feel good. I emailed my son's investigator about Splash. I'm praying I can get Splash to search for the rest of my son's remains. And I think that's fantastic, Christmas Swan. And I hope he can help. You know, I really do. They do. They needed to do more inside the home, in my opinion, than outside. But they seem to have done, you know, the recreation with the Faro cameras outside. The real Me Too says Sumner County Sheriff's Office needs to do more searching, starting at the Proudfoots home. Yeah, they do. Yeah. And it is a huge red flag. We're praying with you, Christmas Swan. Oh, exactly, Mark. Also, him telling people off the road is funny, not me, fatty hillbilly. Yeah, exactly. Well, and I mean, here's the thing. He has instigated so much in this, you know, he and Katie both. Katie likes to sit behind the scenes and do her little, I'm here, in the background, the stupidity. But yeah, he's her spokesperson, right? Because she's not allowed to talk to anybody without him. That's weird to me. Oh, the real Me Too says Sebastian used to come home from school every day and he was the only one home, so he had no problem getting in by himself. Exactly. Yeah, he had no trouble getting in by himself. He could have grabbed himself, like, say Sebastian did run away and then he decided to just come back one day. That happens, right? We don't have any proof or evidence that he left the house, but again, we know that happens. So, let's say that happened and he decided to come back home. He should have been able to get in. So why would she put out water in a blanket? Why wouldn't he just be able to go straight to his room and under his blanket in his bed where his room is or should still be? But we've never seen Sebastian's room because Chris and Katie, they went to an Airbnb when they did the America's Most Wanted interview. You know? Right. Yeah, they're not dumb, Mark. Yeah, we have to be honest about that. And they have way more information than we do, obviously, but I mean, they gathered a lot. I do think they gathered a lot and they know a lot. Law enforcement isn't dumb. They're thinking like us, just need more information, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna tell you guys the real story, no matter if it fits what I believe or not. You know what I'm saying? I am so open, especially in Sebastian's case, because anything could change our way of thinking about it, right? Like, say there was some video that just all of a sudden miraculously came out, and there was like a boy in the neighborhood, and it resembled Sebastian that night. That would change my way of thinking, and maybe he did run away, kind of a thing, right? But it would also, kind of solidify that maybe he did make it over to where those big open culverts were in the construction area. We need to put that public pressure on and ask them to search those areas just to check off the box, right? And maybe they are, and maybe now they're thinking about that. Maybe they didn't before, and maybe they'll use Splash, but we may never know, and that's something that we have to respect, too. So I just don't see how they would be, Mark. I don't see how they could be covering for the family, only to a certain point. But after a while, I think that they all believe that Katie and Chris have involvement. I mean, Katie was the last one with Sebastian. So right there, I mean, statistically speaking, well, and I know, I mean, it's unthinkable. Yeah, what parent would do something like that? But that's the only thing I can think of because Sweetie Pilo said he could not get in that day and that he went in through the garage with Katie. Hey, Mary Patterson, I know this doesn't have anything to do with Sebastian, but I need prayers for my husband. Oh, he had emergency surgery and then he had a stroke. Oh, Mary, I'm so sorry, hon. Oh, well, we'll definitely say prayers for you guys. Oh, thank you for coming in and letting us know. I am so sorry to hear. I'm so, so sorry to hear that. Oh, aw. That's so sweet. Thank you, Witchy. Thank you. Aw, that is so sweet, guys. Mary, I'm so sorry to hear that. Guys, it's just so hard. Life is so hard. You know what, Mark? I'm pissed for them. So I can't imagine how pissed they must be. you know? Good point, Yeah. Yeah, Mark. Oh, I'm here to tell you because I mean they really played them in the beginning, in my opinion. That's why they had such an inadequate investigation in the beginning because they're like feeling sorry for Katie. Oh, this mother, she's lost her son. Oh my gosh, she doesn't know where he is. Katie over there rocking back and forth. I don't know why he walked out the door. Oh, come on, Katie. And then we find out that there's many different personalities to Katie and very many, how do we say, 50 Shades of Katie. No, I'm just kidding. Her personality changes, and so does her accents and the whole 9 yards, Oh, thank you, Christmas Swan. So yeah, guys, I mean, it's very obvious, in my opinion, that they have involvement, and I do think that the police know that by now. Um, we can't forget about the warrant. We cannot forget about that warrant, and that was brought out in October of 25. And they were talking about that, but that transpired at about the year mark of Sebastian going missing. They went back and grabbed some more stuff from Chris and Katie, right? i.e., electronics and that sort of thing. So, whatever they were looking for and whatever was in that probable cause affidavit, because I'd have to believe that they would carry out the proper procedures in order to obtain something like that and descend upon their home, which was how it was put with this warrant. Um, yeah, I would imagine they were looking for something specifically, and I hope they found it. I am all for letting bygones be bygones when it comes to finding Sebastian. Let's do it. We have to come together at some point. Doesn't matter what we think or what we believe. And I am pissed for them. I'm pissed for them, Mark. It's like secondhand embarrassment, right? I mean, it really is, because I'm like, how could you do that to all of these people coming out and looking for your son? Unbelievable. But yeah, they played them and they made them think that, we don't have any involvement, and, Chris is over there. Nobody's talking to my wife without me, all this. And I really believe they lawyered up very, very soon after Sebastian went missing. And that's my opinion, so. Well, guys, I'm gonna hop off here because I do need to watch that documentary and get to know that, but and work on the show for tonight. But I love you guys all so very, very much, and thank you for being here to talk about these important subjects and to talk about these cases, because it's only together that we're going to make a difference. Thank God we have each other. Thank God we have people that are dedicated to these cases that really want to figure out what happened here, because the victims deserve it. They don't deserve the trauma drama. They deserve to be heard, understood. The truth needs to be out there, So most people in this community are sus for a good damn reason. How about it, Mark? Exactly. How does this happen under your roof with all the crap before this happened? Well, and that's what I really want to get into, Mark. And I hate to bring it back up because it's so embarrassing for Sebastian. I hate it. I hate talking about the pull-ups. I hate talking about all of that. But I'm going to tell you what, it's necessary. People need to be reminded of how horrible it was for Sebastian and how they treated him and how they came out in the beginning and blamed him. Peter Hyatt didn't just pull that out of his bum. Like, he was saying that, like you said, for a good damn reason. He really was. And he had no reason and no dog in the fight to lie or disparage Mr. and Mrs. Foote. Right? They did that for themselves with their statements. And, we're always going to play people's statements here, guys, because it's not up to me to tell you what I think about it. I'll let you hear it from the horse's mouth, like you said, like we said in the beginning. Right? I need to hear it from the horse's mouth. I want you guys to hear it from the horse's mouth. I'm not the horse's mouth yet. Sometimes I am, right? But not in these cases. It's for the victims. It's the story of the victims that we want heard, but also their family, and especially the family that's out there trying to advocate, So, well, Mark, exactly. And I've said that too. You're absolutely right. Can you realize the kids in the neighborhood thinking you could be next? Right. And the police aren't doing anything to find Sebastian. And I'm going to tell you, Mark, I have had so many parents reach out to me and grandparents and that say that their kids are praying for and want Sebastian to be found and ask about Sebastian. And if they see a kid that looks like him, they're like, Mom, is this Sebastian? Right? Grandma, is this Sebastian? So many people have kids that are wondering about this. That's real. That's the reality of the situation. And Mr. Craddock does Christmas for kids, and the police officers do that. I would love for out of the mouths of babes to say, where's Sebastian? Let's not forget about him. He would like Christmas for kids too. Sebastian would like to be here for this. Seth about ripped my heart out at Pig Fest when he looked at me and he said, Sebastian would have liked this. There's not a whole lot of people, but there's people, right? His classmates were there. Sebastian would have liked that. And we need to think about that. You know, where is he? So, oh, it's absolute humiliation, the real Me Too. Yeah, absolutely. And when Chris isn't around, somehow the pull-ups go bye-bye. You know, and Chris, and I'm not here to stick up for anybody, but I'm going to tell you, Katie and Seth both didn't agree with the pull-ups, and I'm going to tell you why. When Sebastian was at the Texas Roadhouse, he wasn't wearing one. And I think that tells us a lot, too. You know, we have to read between the lines here. We can't, it's not straightforward as we would like it to be. And trust me, I like straightforward. But thank you, Princess Warrior, or Warrior Princess. Thank you, hon. And thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you guys. Again, I will see you all tonight for Night Court. Night Court will be in session with Lady Freedom, so definitely don't miss it. We'll go about 11:30 Eastern. All right. I love you guys all. Take care, and I'll see you next time.